同学们好.
老师好，
Hello,
老
hello.
师
It
好，
is the 31st of May. It is our last class, uh, last day of May. So let me just give you a review and a preview of what we did last week, what we're going to do today. Last week, we were doing, in standing practice, we were doing one leg stance. Today, we'll go back to just the normal pole stance and review that. This is mostly going to be a review class, but we're going to do some new work too. Last week we reviewed your footwork and body, and we'll do that again. For our history segment, we talked about Yang Chengfu, and today, in theory, I'll be talking about what's perhaps his biggest contribution, or the one we know about every day, is the 10 essential principles. So I'll go through the 10 essentials. They're a great way of summarizing everything we did in the last 2 months. And then in our movements, we did the open close. We started adding stepping, and we'll finish that and actually go all the way and do ward off right, which in fact, then we will have done the first and the second movements in the traditional hand form. So let us begin with our warm-ups, and we'll go through the 25 warm-ups. As we do this, maybe you want to just think about some of the things we've been talking about, particularly in the last month, which is being soft, being loose, being extended, being relaxed. And so as we do this movement, try and make sure that all the stiffness comes out of your body. So we'll stand shoulder width apart, and I will imagine I'm mirroring you. So this would be your right hand mirrored. If you lift your right hand, that's my left. Feet shoulder width apart, looking to left and right on 2 8 counts each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Forward, back, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Side to side, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4. Flapping palms, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 2, 3, 4. Flapping in, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Flapping out, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Shoulders twist, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Twisting back, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Arms push apart, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4. Flapping palms, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4. Flap at the side, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4. Push up and down, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Flap left and right, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Flap in front, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Arm stretch, rotate, step, step to the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. To the right, step, step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, clench fist, jump, step, step. So your square will always start on the left leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Heel step out. 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Push up and down. 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4. Back step, swing out. 7. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4. Back step, pull down. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Back step, hands clap. 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Toe back swing. 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4. Marching step. 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, and 8 more. 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. There we go. So that should have got the blood flowing a little bit. What I'd like to do now to set up our review is just go through the 10 essential principles with you using the slides. We're going to start here, which is something we've talked about from the beginning of these 2 months, which is the progression of learning, and comes in 3 stages. The first is understand the reason. The second is know your body. The third is applying the learning and actually using it in a martial arts context. We're focused on the first 2. And most of the work that we've done has been around know your body, which is the footwork, the middle body, the hand technique, the waist, and so on. But today we're going to do the third of understand the reason, which is the 10 essential principles. So there are a number of subheadings under understand the reason. One is using the theory of Chinese philosophy, like Yin Yang theory, which goes back a very long time. The second is the classics, which is this collection of writings which only really became public around the 1930s, of writings on Tai Chi Chuan written by several people going several centuries back. And the 10 essential principles were a summary or an excerpting by Yang Chengfu of the classics. And so they are actually used when we practice. Almost every time we practice, we'll make reference to the 10 essential principles because they're a very useful guide. So they help us achieve 2 things. First is central balance, so we become more stable, and actually internally so that we become relaxed, which means not tense, we have smooth breathing. They also help us with energy balance. Now you remember that the progression of energy training was first you become soft, then you unify soft into hard, and then you have them complement each other. And the energy balance that we're striving for is this balance between hard and soft. There are 10 principles, which are more than one can easily remember. I mean, 3 is usually a good number. And so there are different ways of categorizing them. This is one categorization that I'll use today. The first is arranging the body frame. There are 4 principles. Then there are 3 principles for coordinating your movement. And then there are 3 around the mind. And so let's just go through each of these 3 sections. And I'll actually use this open-close exercise that we've been doing for the last couple of months to refer to these things. So arranging the body frame, there are 4 here, and you'll know these very well because you'll hear me talking about them constantly when I talk about standing practice. We actually train these in standing practice, but we use them everywhere. In the parentheses, I've shown you some of the key words to remember. So Empty, lively, pushing up. The words there are push your head up and feel your body suspended. Second, sink the shoulders, drop the elbows. We'll be doing that in a minute. So the sink and drop are the key words. Holding in the chest, slightly rounding the back. There we think about the elbow pulling open the shoulders, pulling on the spine, and then relax the waist. The waist is the yao, which is the lower back, but it's very closely connected to the hips, the kwa in Chinese. And so the words there are dropping. So you want to drop your pelvis straight down. So those are the first principles around arranging your posture. The second set is when you come to do movements. And so the first is distinguish empty and full. So for example, when we do this open close movement, you can see there are lots of yin yang. So there's breathing in and breathing out. There's the arms coming up and coming down. And what we're trying to do when we practice the form and when we analyze the movements, when we learn it, think about what's empty and what's full. In other words, what's yin and what's yang. The second one is we want to have energies yin yang. In other words, the hard and soft changing continuously. So when we did these waist exercises, remember we started going left and right, and then we added the circles to it so that we never stopped. We'll practice that later today. But the key word there is circles for this principle. The last one in this set is coordinating the lower and upper body. And the word there is waves. So what you want to think about is, and the quote at the bottom of the slide there is from the classics, energy is rooted in the feet, it's generated in the legs, distributed through the waist, and shows up in the extremities, the hands and fingers, said the classics, but of course it could be your foot as well if you're kicking. But the thing is, from feet to legs to waist, everything in one impulse, one chi. So we want to have this feeling of a wave starting at the back and moving forward and showing up in the hands. That's the third of the movement principles. And this is really where our focus is. And when we first learn the form, this is where we concentrate. There are also the last three, which are more to do with the mind. The first is use intent rather than force, which is a tricky one to understand. It's a tricky one to translate. But really what that means is don't use brute force. Relax and actually use the energy moving like a wave, moving like a whip to deliver energy to your opponent. The second is combining inner and outer, and that's the mind and the body. There's a quote from the classics, the mind is the general, the chi, the breath, in other words, is the banner, and the body is the troops. And so the mind always leads, and then the breath and the physical movement coordinate. And when you start doing the movement, make sure that your breath finishes, you deliver your breath when the movement finishes. The last one is perhaps the most difficult one to do, which is the body moves, but the mind remains calm. We start, and we're going to do that in a second, when we do standing practice, we're not moving the body, and even there, our mind is jumping around all over the place. What we try to do is through practice to become very familiar with the movements, to understand the energy, and then we can achieve this thing called spirit clear, or maybe one day I can achieve spirit clear, which is where you know the details, but you don't pay attention to them. So these are the 10 essential principles that we use, and you will hear reference to them through your whole Tai Chi Chuan practice. Now let's apply that. And let's start with standing practice. Start feet shoulder width apart, a little bit wider if you want. And let's start with our feet. So as you stand in this posture, and have your arms by your sides, a little bit of space under your armpits, fingertips touching the side of your legs. This is Wuji stance, nothingness. But even here, we're in a stance. So feel the weight even on the ball and the heel of your feet. Shift your weight forward slightly, feel more weight on the ball, shift back, feel it on the heel. You want it on both. Now bend your knees, not too much, not over the toes, but enough that you are more stable. Again, check that your weight is even, balls and heels. We call that weight over the bubbling well. Also make sure your crotch is rounded so that you have an arch, your feet are firmly planted. Your knees aren't bowed in or bowed out too much, so you don't have the weight on the inside of your feet or the outside. The whole weight on the whole foot. Now we're going to do our standing practice. We'll probably do about 5 minutes. If you get tired, stop. If your arms and shoulders get tired, you can always just bring them down for a while. Rest, leave them there for the rest of the practice if you want, or if you want, bring them back up again. Good. So from here, we'll start at the top of the head. Feel the head lifting up, pushing up, leading up, and feel the rest of your body suspended, like your body is a silk shirt or a silk blouse hanging on a coat hanger. Your face is parallel, vertical. Don't have your chin out by lifting your chin too much. Now, that's one principle. Another one is sink the shoulders and drop the elbows. So feel your shoulders sinking down the back and feel the little weights on your elbows pulling them down. Your hands are naturally open, they're looking good. A little bit of space between the fingertips. Open and extended, but not stiff and not limp. That's the second principle, or another principle. A third one, absorb the chest and round the back. If you remember, the key words there are pulling away with the elbows. So the elbows are connected to the shoulder. And feel the fingertips pulling away from the elbows. So your arms are like the surface of a balloon. You're holding, you actually are a balloon. That will absorb your chest. And now the fourth one, relax the waist. So feel your lower back opening and extending. You don't have your butt sticking out. You don't have your tummy sticking out. Everything is just dropping straight down. Now check your feet. You have the weight even forward back, which we call weight over the bubbling well, even on the inside and outside so that the knees and the toes are pointing in the same direction. The key there is crotch rounded. We do these posture practice checks so that we can get abdominal breathing. That's the second goal for standing practice. And in fact, for all our practices, to have natural abdominal breathing. So attend to your belly. When you breathe in, your belly will expand. When you breathe out, it'll contract. If your posture is not right, your breath will be more constricted than otherwise. So for example, pull your tailbone in. Tuck your tailbone in. You'll feel that your tummy tightens up and you can't really relax your breathing. So relax the hips down until you find you're breathing more easily. So your breath is a way to diagnose your posture. So go through your posture from the top to the bottom. Take your head, adjust your head until your breathing is easy. With your shoulders, if your shoulders are rising up, so lift your shoulders up, you'll feel your breath tightens. So sink the shoulders, drop the elbows. And in fact, as we stand, our breath will naturally correct our posture if we stand long enough. And long enough varies from person to person, but usually after about 3 or 4 minutes, your body starts correcting itself. And the third reason for doing standing practice is to help calm the mind. It sometimes feels like a bit of a joke to say My mind is calm because we stand here. Our mind wanders all over the place. I'm yattering away, trying to keep your mind on the practice. But that's what we are aiming for. If remember that very last principle that we talked about, the body moves and the mind is calm. So we want to start with mind calm without the body moving, and then adding the body movement. So that was 5 minutes. That's enough. So just gently release. And let's just do a slight cool down, hands on hips, and just gently rotate your hips one direction. And after you've done a few, go back in the other direction. Now one can do standing practice as we've done in this stance, pole stance, but as we discussed in this course, you can also do it in bow stance. And in fact, there are two bow stances. We'll cover that in a second, but there's the forward bow stance. So you can do it in this forward bow stance. You can do it in the upright bow stance. You can do it in empty stance. You can do an empty stance heel touch. You can do an empty stance ball touch. And you can do it in one-legged stance. We never actually practiced the one leg up. We focused on the posture rather than the balance. But those are all things to work on that will gradually increase your leg strength. What you'll find is that as you go from bow stance to empty stance to one-legged stance, it works your thighs more and you get more practice on those parts of the body. Are there any questions? We've done our standing practice. Now let's actually review the footwork in the body. So we're moving on now. If you think about the progression of learning, understand the reason, know your body, apply it to martial arts. Know that your body comes in 5 headings: footwork, body, arms, practice methods, and there are 2. There's the waist, and there's relax, and then there's gaze. Gaze we're not going to talk about here because it really makes most sense when you're doing learning movements in the hand form. But let's review, and we're not going to practice them, but let's just review the essentials of footwork, and we'll talk about the body as well. So footwork comes in 3 headings: stance, moving, and rooting. So for stance, there are 3 requirements which apply to every stance. They are: 1, your feet are either parallel or one is off to 45 degrees. And sometimes, for example, it can be 45 degrees this direction. It can be 45 degrees this direction. In fact, it could actually be 45 degrees, I'll go this way. Let's see here. I've got 45 degrees between my front foot and my back foot, but neither of them are pointing to either of the cardinal directions or one of the diagonals. As long as there's 45 degrees, that's good. The second one is that we have weight over the bubbling well, and the third requirement is crotch rounded. And the place to particularly keep an eye out for crotch rounded is in your bow stance, that you aren't actually having your knees collapsed in. With bow stance, it's particularly important to have crotch rounded. Then the second 3 requirements vary from stance to stance, but they talk about where you put your feet, what shape your legs are, and what the waist distribution is. So for bow stance, where you put your feet, shoulder width apart. So you start with one foot to the corner, the other foot goes shoulder width apart. It's always the shoulder width, and the shoulder width depends on how wide your shoulders are, and that should be the same as the outside of your feet. So that'll vary from person to person. The length of your bow stance depends on how high your stance is. So if your stance is quite low, you can be shoulder width apart and you can go quite far forward so that you can come back. So always check that you can come back. If your stance is high, you will still be shoulder width apart, but your stance will be shorter, and that's fine. It's however high your stance is. That's for bow stance. Positioning. Weight distribution, 60% on the front, 40% on the back. Shape of the leg, front leg is bent, not over the toes, and the back leg is straight. It's not locked, but it's straight. Empty stance, the position of the feet, do it this way. Essentially, where you put your front foot down, either on the ball or the heel, so that the front leg is straight but not locked. And in fact, when we do ball touch, make sure that you're not like this either. It's just straight there. The back leg is bent, and it can be further than your toe. That's not a problem. That other requirement is just for the bow stance. Weight distribution, 70% on the back, 30% on the front. And we've talked about the shapes and the position. There are two kinds of empty stance. One is the ball touch, one is the heel touch. Before I talk about moving and routing, I just want to take a detour and talk about the body requirements. So when we talk about our body shape, there are two categories. One is posture, just the body shape, and that's what we've done in standing practice. The same four things: head up, shoulders down, chest absorbed, waist relaxed. We have that in all our postures. The second is body setting. The first is your tailbone is over the line between your heels. So in this case, I'm in a bow stance. My tailbone is over the yellow line. And when you're in empty stance, it's sort of moot because your feet are either side of the one line. Then your tailbone will naturally be there too. The other thing is the angle. So when we're in a bow stance, a forward bow stance, you're leaning forward, you fold at the hip crease so that your upper body is in line with your leg. And you can look down your shoulders. Is it a line from your shoulder to your hip to your ankle? When we can also be in an upright bow stance. To get into an upright bow stance, we lift the torso vertical, open the chest more, so you can see my hips in this position versus this position. My hips are open more to the corner, but I'm usually looking to the side here. Actually, in ward off left, the second movement in the form, we are actually looking in this direction, but usually we're looking in the straight direction. So that's the body shape and body setting. Now let's talk about moving. So in moving, there are three requirements. Move heel, ball, toe when you're going forward, which is easy. It's just like when you're walking, heel, ball, toe, heel, ball, toe. We didn't do going backwards in this set of classes, but it would be the same as when you're walking naturally. Toe, ball, heel, toe, ball, heel. So that's the sequence. We move smoothly and evenly as if you're on ice. So make sure that you test the ground before you put your weight down. Second, we don't lift the legs very high, and we don't drag the feet either. Let's do some transitions and just review that. So I'll go in the same direction as you, start in the left bow stance. So I'm going to turn through 90 degrees. If I turn my foot through less than 90, my front foot through less than 90 degrees, I shift my weight back slightly, pivot on the right heel, 45 degrees, bring the front foot in, step out into a bow stance, shift forward. Going to go to the left, 90 degrees body change, so shift my weight back slightly, pivot the right foot on the right heel, shift my weight onto the right foot is now full, step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. By the way, one of the things that we've just done for the essential principles is distinguish empty and full. So for example, here, my left leg is fuller than my back leg. Left leg is 60%. I shift my weight back, turn the left toe in. I put all my weight, my left leg is now full. Shift my weight to the right, and then the right leg fills up. We can do a series of steps in a straight line. So to do that, here, we're going to go forwards. I'm going to open my front toe, pivot the left leg open. Make sure you keep your crotch round, make sure your knees aren't collapsing in. Shift your weight in the direction of the left foot. Step out wide enough into a bow stance, the length that you can come back, and shift forward. One more. Shift your weight back slightly. Open the right toe. Keep your crotch rounded. shift your weight in the direction of the right foot. Bring the back foot in, step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. And when you're moving, you'll hear me say heel, ball, toe, bend knee. The essential principle here, or the essential here is you're using the back leg pushing to make the front leg move. So you're pushing with the back foot leg to flatten the foot. You keep pushing, that'll bend the knee. We can also turn through 180 degrees. So we're doing a bow stance in one direction. We're going to go back the other direction. The way we do that is shift the weight back all the way because we're going to pivot the front foot through 135 degrees, which is more than 90. Pivot. Now bring your weight back, pick up the front foot, step out into a bow, and shift forward. So now you've turned around. Let's go back the way we came. Shift your weight all the way back. Pivot on the front heel, 135 degrees. Shift your weight onto that foot that's pivoted. Pick up the other one. Step out. Heel, ball, toe, bend knee. This is a good moment to talk about rooting. So remember, under footwork, we talk about stance, moving, and rooting. So rooting has two elements. One is push and support. So when you're in a bow stance, so perform a bow stance, what I want you to feel is that your back leg is in dynamic tension with your front leg and vice versa. So your back leg is pushing in and your front leg is pushing back. And so if you wiggle back, forward and back, you'll feel the weight on your feet. The second principle is central settle down, and that's when we move more quickly. So when you move your weight forward and you stop, I'll do it this direction. If I'm moving my weight using my back leg, if I don't push back with my front leg, I will just keep going. So that pushing back from the front leg, you'll feel in your back heel. Then your back heel will go this way. Front will come this way, and it'll be like a spring gradually settling down into this spot between your heels, between your feet. That's central settle down. Let's do the walking with empty stance. So let's start with empty stance, heel touch. We can turn to the right. We only have 30% on that front foot, so just pivot on the heel, shift over, heel touch. And do it again to the other side, pivot on the heel, shift over, step out, heel touch. If we're going to do it with a ball, we're going to change from ball to heels. Remember when we step, we always land on the heel. If we start on the ball, we have to pick up the whole foot, put it down, land on the heel, turn it through 45 degrees. So let's try that. So we're on a ball touch. We're going to step going in that direction, land in a ball, but pick up the left foot, put it down on the heel, shift the weight over, step out, ball touch, take 30%. Again, pick up the front foot, put it down on the heel, shift forward, shift through, ball touch. Now we can do several of these in a row, and I'm going to go in the straightforward direction here. So I'm going to start, let's say, ball touch. So touch, pick it up, put down the heel. I'm going to do a transition step, put down the heel, shift my weight in the direction of the front foot. Do it again. Heel, center line, two sides. Shift through and land on the ball. So whenever we have a transitional step, the transitional step is center line, two sides. We don't have shoulder width step. And way to see that is, let's say we're in a left bow stance. We're going to do a transition step into a left bow stance. So left bow stance, shift back, weight, open the left toe, keep crotch rounded. Step through transition steps, center line, two sides, right foot, heel touch, toe towards the right corner, shift through, now step out into a bow stance, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. So there we are. So that's most of the footwork that we've learned. Let us review our waist practice. I'll get my handy dandy chair. In waist practice, you'll recall that there were two kinds of movements, actually 2 plus 1. There's horizontal, there's vertical, and then there's mixed, which is horizontal plus vertical. So we'll start in the chair, and let's just do the side to side before we add the circles, and then we'll add the circles. So going from side to side, and the idea is to use our lower back to rotate. That's why we're locking down our hips. So this is a horizontal movement. Now, just for the sake of time, stop with your chest to the corner, and we're going to move side to side. This will be a vertical movement from side to side. So this is a vertical movement, side to side, and change to the other corner, vertical movement, side to side on the other side. Okay, do a few of those. Come back to the first diagonal. Now we're going to go chest out and in. So out and back, out and back, and come around second side, out and back, out and back. And with these, we can now take our horizontal movement and, keeping our chest moving in a plane, draw an infinity sign or an 8 in this horizontal plane, coming back, front to back, circle at the edge, front to back, circle at the edge, and go back the other way. So now back to front, circle at the edge, back to front, circle at the edge, back to front, circle at the edge. So we've taken this horizontal side to side and turned it into a circle. Now we want to do the same for the vertical. So the vertical, remember, we've got the chest in and out. So we are actually going to move our chest forward, back in a circle. So up around the back, down on the front, up on the back, down on the front, and we can reverse, down on the back, up around the front, down on the back, up along the front. And we can also do this circle. So circle from side to side. Instead of stopping, we're doing this continuously. And go back the other direction. And going around the other direction. Now we can put all of this together, this horizontal and vertical, to do mixed, which we call the figure 8. So back and from up to down across the front, down to up as we go around, up to down. So now your lower back is moving in all the directions. You can think about your lower back as being like a ball. It's just rolling in your pelvis in all directions. Let's reverse direction, back to front, around and down, back to front, around and down, back to front, around and down. Okay. And release. So that's our waist movement. And as you saw in that principle, the waist, as I've said, the waist leads the limbs. So the energy comes from the legs and is distributed through the waist, shows up in the arms. So let's talk about the arm movements. So with the arm movements, there's swing, rotate, and mixed. And this is all review. So swing, I can, as I turn my waist, my arms are just swinging. Now the swinging can be in phase, so my chest and my arms are moving at the same time, or my chest can go first and my arms can follow later. So here my chest and my arms are out of phase. This is swing. We can also do rotation of the arms. So start, bend the knees. This is, you can also do this sitting in a chair, of course, but one palm forward, one palm back, and turn your chest towards the opening palm. So it's the turning of the waist that's rotating the arms. And the arms don't have to stay by your sides. They can be any position. So they can be horizontal. And bring them back. You're turning from palm up to palm down, or palm forward to palm back. And in this position, don't move your chest, flip your hands. Now you're going the other way. You're turning towards the back of the hand that's with the palm going backwards. And again, you can have this movement, the waist movement being driven by the waist movement driving the arms in any position. For example, if I just move my arms side to side, this is a swing, I can actually do a rotate. So this is a swing and a rotate. So that's the third one, swing plus rotate. Swing and rotate. And let's do the figure eight exercise, but adding swing and rotate. So this I don't think we've done. So we're going to start just with our palms up, and we're just going to do this figure eight movement with our arms straight. So this is just a swing, no rotation. Now when you get to the end, I want you to have the outside palm up, the lower palm is in. You're going to come around, rotate. And so feel that the outside palm is going around a ball on the outside. So now you're doing a swing and a rotate. As far as your waist is concerned, you're doing a vertical movement and a horizontal movement. And so I've come from top to bottom. Now I'm going to go bottom to top. I'm going to reverse the direction. You can always go into directions. Okay. So there we are, and release. So that's our movements. What I'd like to spend the last bit of time on is the open close movement that we've been working on the last couple of weeks, to actually turn that into a posture. But before I do that, are there any questions? So we'll start feet shoulder width apart. And let's just review. We were doing this movement. So you start with your palm up above the horizontal, palm forward. And if you drop it, you'll find that your arm rotates. It goes from palm forward to palm back. Then drop it all the way until drop in front of your body. Now, when you let go here, naturally what you'll find is that your palm goes backwards. So now your palm is here, rotate coming up. So drop, it rotates, cups at the bottom, goes out, palm backwards, rotate at the corner, and come all the way over. Finish here. Open, rotate, close. Open, rotate, close. And we can do it on the other side. So let's start again on the other side. So palm out, drop. So you'll see that as you drop, the arm rotates. As you drop it in front of your hips, it cups. Now we'll do this movement, rotate, cup, and as it goes the other way, palm back to begin with, then it rotates, comes around. Yep, that looks good. Now we can add both arms at the same time. But before we do that, let me just review the shape of the palms. The top wrist is what we call sitting. So the wrist is not parallel to the forearm. Yes, nice fix, Greg. And for the lower one, the palm isn't in line with the forearm either. It's slightly bent. So, nope, rotate, yeah. drop your whole hand a little bit more so that's not here, but here. Yeah, nice. And so the forearms are roughly parallel in this position. And as we change to the other side again, you'll see that the forearms are roughly parallel. The palms and elbows are roughly in a line. But when you look at it from front to back, you'll see that the lower arm is closer to your body, the upper arm is further out. Good. So let's do that. So we're going to start here. I will do this very slowly to begin with. So open. So the upper palm forward, lower one back. Rotate both palms. So the lower one is back. Yep. And close. Open. So check here. So the lower one, palm back, palm forward, and close. Open. Rotate. Close. Open. Rotate. Close. Open. Rotate. Close. Another thing I want to point out, and this is again one of the fundamental Legos of Yang style Tai Chi Chuan, is palm shape. So in this very simple movement, you can see the two shapes of our palm. One is this palm is what we call sitting. The other one, we call this ward-off shape. The arm is rounded. So it's very seldom indeed that we have the palm in line with the forearm. It's either like this or it's like this. And so we alternate. It's a yin-yang. The hand goes from being like this to being like this. Okay. Now we're going to start adding the waist movement, and then we're going to add the legs, and then we're going to turn it into a posture. So stand like Charlie Chaplin, and just for the sake of things, I'm going to imagine that you're mirroring me. So when I say legs, I'll be saying your legs. Okay, so let's start with your left hand on top. Open, rotate, close. So this is just what we've done so far. Open, rotate, close. Next time when you close, I want you to turn so that the upper hand is towards the front. So my right hand is on top. I'm turning towards your right corner. Open, I come square, rotate, close, I turn my chest. So to your left side with the left hand on top. Open, come to square, rotate, close. Right hand on top, chest to the right corner. Rotate, come to square, close, and here. Next time, we're going to step out. So as you close with the right hand on top, step out with the left leg into a bow stance. So right hand is on top, left leg is out. Now, as the arms open, bring that left leg back, rotate. As you close, step out with the left leg into a bow stance. This will be your right leg, I apologize. Open, close. Right arm on top, left leg out. Open, and just keep doing it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to finish this movement. So we're here. Shift your weight forward, lift your left arm, press down with the right. So you're finished in this position. Your right leg is forward, your right arm is arched in front of you, and your left hand is behind, about a fist width behind and below your left. So you're in this position here. So your palm is vertical. The lower palm is vertical, Greg. Yeah. Yes, good. So let's do that again. So let's start here. So now we're going to go to the other side. So we're going to close, step out the left leg, shift forward with the left leg, raise the left arm. Now what I want you to do is we're going to start going back, and so shift your weight back and open. Let's just go backwards and forwards. Don't move the leg yet. Just shift backwards and forwards so that you get the sense that from this posture, the front arm comes down and the front leg will come back. Change. Close. Step out. Shift your weight forward. The same leg, same arm. Leg in front, arm in front. And shift back. Both arms open. Change. Close. Step out. And lift. So what I want you to pay attention to is that the relative position of your arms are like this. So the forward arm is out and the lower arm is behind it. So the palm is more or less vertical. Yep. So Greg, have your lower fingertips up. It looks like your hand is like this. See if you can lift it like this. Yeah. Palms facing forward. Yeah. Yes. Good. Let's try that again a few times. Oh, yes. A couple of things to this is a whole class to learn this movement. So I'm just going to mention a few things. When we finish this forward arm, the palm is the same height as my shoulder. And you'll see my elbow is lower than the palm. So it's this shape. My arm is in fact protecting the front of my body. My upper arm and my thigh is roughly in line, are in line. And my lower arm is fist width away from the upper here. I think it would be useful to actually show what this looks like. And let me ask Susan to join us for a moment. We didn't really talk about the martial arts applications, and when we start doing practicing the form, we will. But let me just show you what this actually is doing in martial arts terms. So if Susan punches here, I'm going to come in and control her arm here. Susan is going to, so I'm going to connect here. I'm going to grab my hand, my palm here is vertical because I'm grabbing here. This arm is controlling her elbow. So when I lift, I'm lifting with this front arm and I'm pushing down with the lower arm. And so I'm pushing down here and lifting here. And if I actually do that at the same time, and she doesn't do anything, I break her elbow. So that's what this movement is about. There are counters, but we'll talk about that later. But this thing is what I wanted you to just get a sense of. Thank you, Susan. So let's practice that a few more times. And as we do the last few minutes, what I'd like you to think about is the principle coordinating upper and lower. So when we step out, where are our arms? When we move forward, where are our arms? So you'll see that the arms, the waist movement, and the legs are all coordinated. So let us begin in this stance. Okay. Let's just do one cycle without stepping. Circle, close, turn the chest. Open, chest square, rotate, close. Open, rotate. Now, step forward. If your right hand is up, your left foot steps out. Shift forward weight and control your opponent's arm. Shift back, become square, rotate, close, chest to the other side, heel out. So this is one coordination point. Leg straight. As I shift forward my weight by pushing with the back leg, I lift with the front arm, push down with the back arm. Shift back, change. Step out, shift forward, and lift. Come back, change, step out, forward, and lift. So yeah, so Greg, I think your front arm would be your right arm. So that's up, yep, and the left arm fingertips vertical behind it. So it's this relative position. Yep, very good. Let's stop there. To review, we actually went through two parts of the progression of learning: understand the reason, know your body, and apply it to martial arts. We talked about understand the reason, the principles, yin yang, mostly the 10 essentials. Then under know your body, we had footwork, body, arms, practice methods, waist and relax. We didn't talk about gaze. And then the applications, I briefly showed you an application, but as you start doing the form and as you start practicing more with an opponent, you'll have a chance to do that more. Thank you so much for being with me for the last couple of months. Let us close class. 同学们，再见。